And we're live. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New York Buddhist Church. This morning, we have a very special event happening here. As you all probably know, this is the 77th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And we have a very special connection to that because our statue of Shinran Shonin, which stands in front of our temple, is connected to Hiroshima. It was brought over here in 1955, and it had survived the bombing. And later on, Hoshina Seki will be talking about that in our regular service. But today we welcome the guests from the NIhon Hidankyo, which is the Japanese Confederation of A and H bomb sufferers organization. And today we have a very special guest. We have representatives from both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And today, Mr. Sueichi Kido, who's the Secretary General of Hidankyo in Nagasaki, will be speaking to us. And Ms. Kyoko Toyama is going to be his translator. So thank you very much for coming, and we welcome you all.
Thank you. Before he speaks, I just want to introduce the delegates from Japan, and of course, Sueichi Kido and Jiro Hamasumi. 手を振ってくださいますか? Yeah, he was bombed actually when he was in mom's womb, and Miss Masako Wada from Nagasaki, and all the Hibakushas are pretty much living outside of Hiroshima and Nagasaki now. And then we have also Masako Kudo representing Hidankyo, the administrator. And we have a couple of people as translators. So thank you so much for welcoming all of us.
皆さん、こんにちは。
Hello to everyone.
私はここで皆さんの前でお話ができることを本当に嬉しく思っております。
I'm so honored. From bottom of my heart, I'm very honored to be able to speak to all of you today.
と申しますのは、私は2019年に一度参りまして、今日ここに来たのは2度目です。
I came here actually in 2019 when he and Mr. Hamasumi presented the signatures to the United Nations. So he came to visit.
このお寺を作った関法然さんは私たちの親戚です。
And the founder, the Reverend Hosen, is actually my relative.
法然さんと私の母はいとこです。
So Hosen, yes, yeah, Hosen and his mother were cousins.
そして私の一番姉の旦那は法然さんの甥子です。一番上の法然さんの一番上のお姉さんの2番目かの子供です。
I'm not going to do all that. So Mr. Kido's sister, older sister's husband, right? So brother-in-law is a nephew of Hosen-san. Hoshina. No. The father.
それで星名さんは一番上のお姉さんのお孫さんになる。いや、ややこしいんですね。
So his oldest sister. What? Who is お姉さん？
法然さんの一番上のお姉さん、千代野さんというのが法然さんの一番上のお姉さんです。
To your oldest sister? What?
まあいいな、もうとにかく非常に複雑な関係
We
で
have other relatives here. We have other relatives here too. So,
そう言いながら私は法然さんにお会いしたのは2回目しかありません。
but this is only the second time. No. He met Hozen-san only twice in his life.
1回目は小学校6年生の時、我が家まで来てくれていろいろアメリカでの布教活動や生活を話してくれました。
The first time he came was when Mr. Kido was in the 6th grade. He came all the way from New York to Nagasaki and told the family about what the ministry has been in New York.
2度目は1970年ですけど、東京の築地本願寺でお会いしました。
The second time was 1976 when he came to Tsukiji Honganji in Tokyo. That's where he met.
そうして母が死んだ時にはわざわざ我が家までお参りに来てくれました。
And he came all the way to Nagasaki when Mr. Kido's mother passed away to pay a visit.
それで法然さんの、ねお嬢さんや私の2人いとこがニューヨークで頑張ってますので、その皆さんに今日お会いできて本当にものすごく興奮してます。とても嬉しいです。
So he's more than just happy, but also very excited and very excited because he has other cousins who are members of this church.
その話はこれで終わりまして、
Yes, let's go.
私の被爆したどういう形で被爆したか、そしてそれから、77年どのように考えてきたか、そして今何を思っているかをお伝えしたいと思います。
So today's talk, I'm going to talk about my experience on 2 days on September and August 9th and 10th. That's the past. And also he's going to talk about what the last 77 years has been. And also what he's thinking today.
1945年8月9日、私とか母と一緒に自宅の前の道路上にいました。
August 9th, 1945, I was on the street in front of the house with my mother.
飛行機の音が聞こえました。その音を見上げた瞬間、ピカッとンと光を浴び、爆風でほぼ20メーターぐらい飛ばされました。
So that day, we started hearing the sound of the plane. But as soon after we heard that, it was a big flash. And we were thrown out from where they were, about 20 meters from they were.
母は顔と胸をやけどし、私は顔半分をやけどしました。
My mother was burned. Her chest and face were burned. And I got burned on my face.
不思議なことに、その時の母の顔を全く覚えていません。
Interestingly, I don't remember what my mom's face looked like.
母は私を防空壕に連れて行った後、やけどで顔が腫れ上がって、もう何にも見えなくなりました。
So my mother took me to the air raid shelter, but she couldn't see anything because of the impact of the bomb.
だから母は何もかにもなくなった長崎の町を見ていないのです。
That means my mom was not able to see the view of Nagasaki that way because she couldn't see anything.
翌日、私たちは爆心地を通って避難しました。
So the next day, August 10th, we tried to evacuate, walking through the streets and the town.
母は戸板に乗せられて運ばれました。私はカゴに座らされて運ばれました。
My mother was carried on sort of a board above the cars, but I was actually small, so I was carried in a little sort of a basket. 手書き。
私はこのくらいですね、顔に座らされてましたから、目線はこのくらいなんですね。だから道路上、街全体を見ることができずに、道路上だけを見てたと思います。
So you can imagine, he was this small, but he was in a basket, so he couldn't see. The eye level was not the same as an adult. So if he was not able to see any of the scenes, what he was seeing was just from this level for a 6-year-old.
ただもう今も記憶に残っている街は真っ黒です。真っ黒だったと、もう本当に何にもなかったということを覚えています。
So all I remember was everything was black and nothing was on the earth.
で、道をどんどんと爆心地に近づくにつれて、道にはゴロゴロ転がった死体です。そして水を求める人がいました。
So as we were walking towards the epicenter, of course there are bodies, right and left, left and right, and that's all I saw. And also the people were trying to get water.
で、大橋というところのその橋の下には水を求めて川に入って生き絶えた人が折り重なっていました。
So there was a bridge over the river, and a lot of people were trying to get water, but right there, a lot of them died, and so what I saw was just piles of bodies.
それで何が起こったか私たちには分かりませんでした。原爆だということは知りませんから。
So of course we didn't know what was going on, and at the time, the next day, there was no understanding of this bomb of flashing was the atomic bomb.
ただ見た街の状態といいますか、こんなことだけは絶対に起こってはいけないと思いました。
Even as a 6-year-old, even though he didn't understand what was going on, he was clear. We cannot let anything like this happen in the future.
今に変わらぬ思いです。
And that thought has not been changed.
それから私が被爆者だと知ったのは1953年です。
And when I was made aware that I was a Hibakusha was not until 1953.
長く被爆者は自分を名乗り、またみんなで核兵器をなくしましょうと、私たちの生活を守りましょうという運動を組織的に行うことはできませんでした。
So we couldn't, back then, we couldn't really sort of voluntarily say, I am Hibakusha, or trying to really be active about abolishing the nuclear weapons, and to also save people's lives. We couldn't do that.
一つは占領、日本を占領したその占領軍がね、原爆被害を報道してはいけないと秘密にしました。そしてまた被爆者が訴えること、あるいは研究者が原爆について調査することを許さないといいますか、妨害しました。
So we have been told that what happened cannot be told to anybody. It was a secret. And also, of course, a lot of scholars and researchers, they want to sort of do some studies. But we were not supposed to really, we were not allowed, permitted to talk about what happened, what experience they had.
一番被爆者が苦しんでいるとき、日本政府は何の手助けもしませんでした。
So when Hibakusha was in vain, and the most crucial or painful moment, Japanese government did nothing.
そのアメリカの政策と日本政府政策によって被爆者は見捨てられていたのです。
Right, so Hibakusha was abandoned not only just by Japanese government, but also the American government, because there was an occupation by American government.
1954年にビキニ干渉での水爆実験がありました。それを受けて日本国内に原水爆反対の運動が大きく盛り上がりました。
So 1954, there was an experiment in a Bikini Island, and after that, people started together and to try to address the magnitude of the impact of the bomb.
その運動に支えられ励まされて1956年に初めて被爆者の運動をする団体日本被団協が結成されました。
Because of all these activists right after that actually experimentation in Bikini Island, all the hibakushas, not everybody, but they gathered to try to do something together. So 1956, that's when Hidankyo was founded.
日本被団協はその結成の時に私たちは自らを救うとともに私たちの体験を通して人類の危機を救おうという決意を誓い合いました。
So the two missions and also commitments they made, Hibakusha. One is to really save people who are affected by any of these nuclear powers, nuclear weapons, nuclear any force. The second one is we have to think about this crisis of human being, right, with the force of nuclear powers.
日本被団協は繰り返し被爆者はどんな生活をしているか、また原爆は人間をどのように人間に何をもたらしたかということを調べてまいりました。
So over the years, we did two things. One is to really check in with all the hibakushas, what's happening with their lives, even after 77 years. Second one is to really do research of the impact, even to this day, of A bomb.
原爆は広島、長崎の本当に悲惨な状況、自分自身も本当に大変な体験をしたのですけれども、それだけではなく不安、いろんな悩みというのは日にちが経てば経つほどどんどん大きくなるということが分かってまいりました。
One of the things we discovered, and as a survivor, from his experience, it's not just the physical, but also the longer you wait, the longer the more psychological issues have appeared. So fear, anxiety, so that's something that they didn't anticipate, but they're finding that. Long-lasting and unexpected impact, psychological impact of the bomb.
健康の不安や人間らしく生きることができない苦しみ、それが自分の苦しみから子供の苦しみ、孫の苦しみ、そして全ての人の苦しみというのに苦しみが大きくなっていくのです。
So at the beginning it was just my own health, but he thought about his children, his grandchildren, and not just his own, everybody, all the Hibakusha's family, extended families, and that compounded to the larger sort of issues and concerns among the Hibakushas.
核兵器禁止条約と話変わりますけども、
I'm going to switch the subject a little bit about the treaty.
核兵器禁止条約の第1回締約国会議がつい先日ですね、ウィーンで開かれました。
discussion of the nuclear treaty was happened in Vienna.
そこで本当にいろんなことを考えさせられましたけど、2つだけ申し上げたいと思います。
And he was there in Austria. There are a lot of things that I thought about by talking to people and listening to all these dignitaries, but there are two things that I really want to share with you.
被爆者はどのように死んでいったか、どのように命を奪われたかということです。
The first thing is to think about how Hibakusha lost their lives. Everybody lost their lives differently.
私、本当に実感するんですけども、もしピカッという時に私が死んでいたら、自分がなぜ死ぬのか、何もわからないままに死ぬのです。
And of course, it's a common sense. But if that big flash hit him, and if he died instantly, I wouldn't know how I died, right?
また、家族に看取られて亡くなった死者はわずか 4% だと言われています。
And it's been said, people who died in front of surrounded by the family, were only 4%. So what happened to the 96%?
どこで死んだか、また骨がどこにあるか、そして別れの言葉をお互いに告げ合うことができないのです。
So the rest of the people died, not even able to say or give the last words to their families. And where they died, who knows? Nobody knows.
それは今で生きてきたその人の人生がすべて打ち消されて、そんな死ではないでしょうか。
And this is a question to all of you too. Can you imagine if nobody was there for you when you are leaving this earth? What kind of life do you have, or does the family really think about you?
人間が生まれてから今日まで、そんな死があったでしょうか。私はなかったと思っています。
So when you think about the life and death for most people, I cannot think of the ways many of the Hibakushas died.
原爆は、核兵器は全く人間と共に存在できない反人間的な兵器です。絶滅だけを目的にした兵器です。それから人間を守るためには核兵器をなくすしかありません。
I believe nuclear weapons and humans. I believe that they cannot coexist. And nuclear weapons and force are there to really destroy entire Earth and humans.
2月24日、ロシアのプーチンさんがウクライナに攻撃を加えました。
As everybody knows, on February 24th, the Putin in Russia, they began their suppression of Ukraine.
本当に驚きました。信じられませんでした。
I couldn't believe that he was doing that. So you can tell also the way he's talking, right? Because he's not Russian, he's not Ukrainian, he's not there. But you can imagine how the sort of blood gets boiled up. As somebody who had experience and trauma years ago, I think some of you also experienced that too. It's not a flashback to be exact, but similar experience.
また広島、長崎が再現するのか。もっと核戦争になったら本当に人間が いなくなるのではないかと、恐怖で体が震えました。
So he started shivering when he heard about that, because he understands the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what Avon did. So just thinking about it, and thinking about the magnitude of weapons right now, you cannot just sort of wipe out 2 cities. A lot of countries around them will be gone. So just thinking about that, he was reacting physiologically, emotionally, psychologically. The whole body started to shiver.
日本被団協被爆者は武器に対して武器で問題を解決することを求めてきませんでした。話し合いによる結論解決を求めてまいりました。
So the Hidankyo's commitment or motto is really to have a dialogue. They don't believe in retaliation with the same force, right? Weapons, nuclear weapons.
しかし、
I'm sorry. So they're really focused is to have a dialogue, like here.
しかし一時ブレジンスキーの抵抗を見て、やっぱりひょっとしたらその解決するのは国民の判断かなと迷ったことがありました。
And there was this moment that he thought about only way to really change, because the way it's going on for more than 6 months. Only way to change is really the judgment of the people, public.
しかし今、侵略から始まった戦争は6ヶ月経ち、解決の見通しが立ちません。戦争は長期化するのではないかという不安を感じています。
Kind of already said it, but this war is still continuing after 6 months, and he started to be very anxious about whether this is going to be longer than people expected.
武力に対して武力では解決できない。話し合いで解決すべきであると改めて確信しています。
He again reaffirmed only way to really solve this issue, the territorial or the differences in opinion, is through the dialogue, not by force with a weapon.
それを国の憲法として定めたのが日本国憲法です。
Now, the way to assure that in Japan is the Article 9. I think some of you know that, the Constitution. Article 9. That is it's almost like a promise for Japanese people and Japanese government and people in Japan that nobody's going to come with the force to destroy the country.
この日本国憲法を世界の規範としてみんなのものにする、そのことによって核兵器もない戦争もない世界を作ることができると思っています。
He believes that the Japanese Constitution Article 9 is actually a model, can be a model for all the countries to prevent from using this force, right, nuclear weapons or any weapons. So that's what he and other Hibakusha are trying to convey to the public, like this, or to the United Nations dignitaries and the government officials.
私は今年82歳になりました。で一緒に来て訴えてる和田さん、そして浜澄さん、共にその戦争も核兵器もない世界を作る、そのために残された時間を生きていくということで、こうやって皆さんの前で話をし、ニューヨークにも参りました。共に頑張っていきたいと思います。ありがとうございました。
Okay, so he's 82. He turned 82 this year. And he came here even, 82 years old, as an 82-year-old person with the other Hibakusha, Masako Wada and Jiro Hamasumi, getting old. All the Hibakushas are getting old, but they want to really convey to everybody that we have to maintain, we have to keep this earth without nuclear weapons and without war. That's why they keep coming. They keep coming. So please, I would like to really call all of you to work together with Hibakusha to assure that promise and the goal. And with working together, hopefully we might be able to have this society and the world without wars and weapons.
ここに
Thank you very much. You heard us, right? ありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。ここに核兵器禁止条約は何を禁止しているかというしおりを被団協から皆さんにお渡ししますので、どうぞお受け取りください。
So this book part calls on the governments of all nations to ratify TPNW, no more Hibakusha. So I would like everybody to take this and use it. Maybe show it to people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. On behalf of the New York Buddhist Church and its Sangha, we are so, so very grateful for you coming here today. I keep thinking about, when Mr. Kido talked about all the souls that were lost, whose families didn't know where they were. So hopefully, because every year we have a service here at the New York Buddhist Church in memory of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki victims of the A-bomb. Hopefully we will remember them. Every year we do have this service for their benefit, and we will remember them. We're so grateful for you to come, all of you, your whole Hidankyo, coming here today to convey your message to us, because the more years that pass, many generations that pass, they forget. They don't know the experience that happened during that time. And for your testimonial here today, it was so moving for all of us. And hopefully we will convey this to our children and our grandchildren so that people don't forget the horrors of nuclear war. So thank you so much. We are very grateful for your coming today.
Thank you, and let's work together. Let's walk together.
we are live.
Kansho. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our service today. Today we are both having both the monthly Shotsuki Hoyo for August, and we have the Hiroshima and Nagasaki Memorial Service. So we're combining them both today. And thank you for all attending. I hope that you had an opportunity to listen to Mr. Kido, who was a Nagasaki Hibakusha survivor. If you didn't have a chance, you can go home and watch it on YouTube or the Facebook page. But we welcome you today, and we will begin our service. Namo Amidas. Namo Amidas. Namo Amidas. Sit up straight, feet on the floor, hands in your lap, and breathe, counting your breath, and settle your minds. We respectfully welcome Amida Buddha to our Hondo as we scatter the flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome Shakyamuni Buddha to our Hondo as we scatter flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome the Buddhas of all times and places to our Hondo as we scatter flowers of joy. In the presence of Amida Tathagata, the embodiment of great wisdom and compassion, we, the members and friends of the New York Buddhist Church, have gathered to observe the Hiroshima and Nagasaki Memorial Service and the Shotsuki Monthly Memorial Service for August 2022 in remembrance of our deceased loved ones. 77 years ago, on August 6th and August 9th in 1945, the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki changed the history of the world forever. Today, we were able to hear earlier the testimonial of Mr. Kido, who was a survivor in Nagasaki, and his remembrance and wish for all of us to never forget what the atomic bomb devastations can bring to the world was something that I think I will never forget. Every year, the New York Buddhist Church gathers to remember the hundreds of thousands of people who lost their lives that day, on those days, and the subsequent lives of those who were lost by the effects of the radiation. We gather today also to remember our relatives and friends who passed away during the month of August. We shall be indebted to them, upon whose lives we and subsequent generations have and will be changed. In reflecting on the ephemeral nature of life, which is like lightning or morning dew, we see that the comings and goings of everyday life, that we are essentially alone. Encountering the impermanence of earthly life, we are made to see both our self-delusion and the contrasting light of Amida's truth that sustains us. We hereby remember our loved ones who passed away during the month of August. Let us affirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Please repeat the Nembutsu after me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. These are the names of our family members and loved ones who passed away during the month of August. Jesse J. Armstrong, Irene Bakushin, Edward Cohen, Glennis Frias, Janet Fukuyama, Kiyomi Kim Harada, Sadako Harada, Frank Tatsuya Hashimoto, Mineko Hashimoto, Janice Riki Hodii, Masayoshi Ikuta, Kimiko Inaba, Chizuko Inoue, Inomatsu Kikuchi, Makiko Kondo, Kunihiko Kuchiba, Hiroko Magome, Haruko Matsumaru, Taeko Mitani, Tadashi Miura, Toshiaki Miyazaki, George Shoji Morihisa, Jiro Murase, Jean Kyoko Murata, Masahiko Nakagawa, Yosuke Namba, Tsutomu Niki, Atar Norbu, Goze Okuma, Tokusuke Okuma, Edward W. Primus II, Kazuya Shindo, Saichiro Soeda, Kiyoshi Takahashi, Masahiro Tamura, Tadashi Taoka, John Noel Theodore, Matsuhei Tono, Shinichiro Toda, Dean Shigeru Yamamoto, Shizue Yanagida. These are the names of our loved ones and family members that passed away during the month of August. Let us always remember how they impacted our lives and will impact future generations. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Today's chant is JÖ-SEI-GE, which is on page 93 of your book. Gagoncho Sega
Tisarana.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Amen to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kiebutsu. Namo Kiebutsu. Namo Kieho. Namo Kieho. Namo Kieso. Namo Kieso. Namo Das. Namo Das. Please be seated.
Today's reading is The Way of the Bodhisattva on page 18. Okay, let's read together. May I be a medicine for the sick and weary, nursing them until their afflictions are gone forever. I will be a protector of the helpless and a guide for travelers and their means for crossing a stream, a lamp for those who need a lamp, a bed for those who need a bed, a slave for those who need a slave. May all find happiness through my affliction, and let no one suffer because of me. Whether they love or hate me, may those feelings be the source of their fulfillment. Those who mock, accuse, or wrong me, may they all attain enlightenment.
Today's Gobunsho will be Shonin Ichiryu no Sho, the chapter on the teaching of Shinran Shonin. Please listen deeply as I recite, first in English, then in Japanese. Shinran Shonin taught that the essence of Jodo Shinshu is Shinjin. The reason is that by abandoning all other practices and completely entrusting ourselves in Amida Buddha, our spiritual rebirth is assured by Amida through the inconceivable power of the primal vow. This is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured at the very moment of Shinjin. Thereafter, all utterances of the Nembutsu should be understood only as expressions of gratitude for Amida's assurance of our spiritual rebirth. With reverence, I remain. Shonin Ichiryu no gokanke no momuki wa Shinji no motte hondo serare soro sono yue wa moro moro no zogyo nagestete ishin ni mira ni kimyo sureba fukashigi no ga nikito shite Buddha no kata yori ojo ajijo seshimeta mo sono kurai yo ichinen poki nyusho joshi ju tomo shakushi sono ue no shomyo nembutta nyorai wa gojo sarame tamaishi goan hoji no nembutto kokoro ubeki nari anakashiko namondabutsu 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 namondabutsu.
So good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our speaker today, Hoshina Seki. Hoshina has a special connection to the New York Buddhist Church, as we all know. She grew up here, and her father was the founder of the New York Buddhist Church. He continues to shed his influence and light on us, I think. And even today, we heard that her father was a cousin of Mr. Kido, who was a Nagasaki Hibakusha survivor. And it was just very touching to realize that deep connection that the Seki family has with the Kido family. So today, Hoshina is going to speak about our statue, which you probably all know was, when she'll elucidate more about that. But we have a special connection with Hiroshima and through the statue, and I'm sure she will talk about it. She is now the president of the American Buddhist Studies Center, which, if you don't know, is housed here in the Annex building. And they have a wonderful library, conduct many different activities, lectures, seminars, really focusing on Buddhism and Japanese culture. So thank you so much for coming to speak this morning, Hoshina.
Good morning. I want to take a moment to thank Reverend Gary Shobo Jaskula for inviting me to be the speaker this morning. I'm really honored, and I'm thankful that he asked me to talk about the Shinran Shonin statue. I also want to thank Isabel Shobo Bernard, Reverend Cheryl Joko Ikemiya, Nobuko Kodama, and Sangha members, and those in cyberspace as well. So I'm really happy to be here to talk about the Hiroshima, to talk about the Shinran Shonin statue. And it was so nice this morning to meet a relative of mine for the first time. I've never met him before, so it was really something really special. Before I get started, I want to thank Miyuko Takahashi Rivera of Soho Daiko for sharing her family pictures when she visited the site where the Shinran Shonin statue once stood in Hiroshima. At first, I was going to use the photos in a PowerPoint, but knowing what a technical issue it would cause, I decided to give my talk without any digital presentations. So that's kind of unusual in this day and age. So on Monday, August 6, 1945, at 8:15 in the morning, the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. 70,000 people died instantly. Then on Friday, August 9, 1945, the second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, where an estimated 40,000 people were killed. Tens of thousands more people died later from radiation burns and poison. These two horrific bombings ended the war with Japan. 6 days later, on August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced his country's surrender in a radio broadcast. This morning, I will tell you the story of the Shinran Shonin statue in front of our church. As you know, my father, Reverend Hosen Seki, founded the New York Buddhist Church in 1938. In 1951, he established the American Buddhist Academy, a separate organization from the New York Buddhist Church and the Buddhist Churches of America. My father was inspired to start a Buddhist academy because of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights Resolution. Also, he was motivated by reading Eleanor Roosevelt's firm stance on women's rights, which coincidentally championed in the 13th century the teachings of Honen and Shinran of equality. He was a trailblazer in spreading Shin Buddhism in America. Here's the history of our Shinran Shonin statue and how it ended up in New York City in front of the New York Buddhist Church. Many Jodo Shinshu temples around the world have a statue of Shinran Shonin, either in front of the temple, in the temple garden, or inside the temple. However, the one in front of our church holds a remarkable history. In 1937, Mr. Seiichi Hirose, a metalworks industrialist in Osaka, Japan, became a devout Jodo Shinshu Buddhist. Upon losing a child, he cast 6 identical bronze statues of Shinran Shonin in traveling attire. They were each around 15 feet tall and weighed around 1,300 pounds. The reason for casting 6 statues was to have each one to represent each character of the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. They were installed between 1937 and 1938 in Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, Hiroshima, Niigata Prefecture, and in his hometown of Kuwana in Mei Prefecture. 3 Shinran statues were destroyed during World War II, and the medal was used for the Japanese government's war efforts. However, the one on Hijioka Hill, which overlooked Hiroshima City, remained. When the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, the epicenter was only about a mile away from the Shinran Shonin statue. It received the full blast. Right now, you can see red burn marks, and there's still a slight trace of radiation. Now, how did the Shinran statue end up here? My grandparents, on my mother's side, are from Hiroshima. Their home was about 1.5 miles away from the blast epicenter. Even so, the blast blew out all the glass windows in the house, and the house was moved. My grandfather died from the flying glass. My father was released from the Kuski internment camp in Idaho in 1946. Knowing what happened in Hiroshima, he started making plans to return to Japan to help my grandmother. While in Hiroshima, he heard about the Shinran Shonin statue and how it was still standing and witnessed the first atomic bomb. He then started inquiring about its history and learned about Mr. Sueichi Hirose. The Shinran Shonin statue journey to America began towards the end of 1954. When my father wrote a letter to Mr. Hirose asking him if he would consider donating the statue to the American Buddhist Academy. At that time, my father, his fellow ministers, and Sangha members felt the urgency for a Buddhist educational center to teach Buddhism and peace. They thought how meaningful it would be to have this Shinran Shonin statue that witnessed the horrible day on August 6, 1945. After corresponding with Mr. Hirose, in late January 1955, my father received a confirmation letter. Here's what Mr. Hirose wrote. It has been my long cherished desire to follow through on my plans to have the statue of Shonin cross over to America. Even now, as I write this response to your letter, tears of joy well up in my eyes. Shinran teaches that we are all fellow seekers, one and all. I believe that the present way things have turned out with our country, Japan, headed down the path of democracy, was what Shinran must have set in motion some 700 years ago. This spirit of all of us, fellow travelers, is well expressed in the form of Shinran as a traveler, wearing straw sandals, straw hat, a cane that I think is especially well suited for democracy. When the Shinran Shonin statue was removed from the original site in Hiroshima, Mr. Hirose replaced it with a young Shinran statue. On the 50th anniversary of the atomic bombing, the young Shinran statue was moved to the Honganji Betsuin in the middle of Hiroshima, Teramachi district. Today, you can still see on Hijioka Hill 2 pedestals, one where the original statue stood and the other where young Shinran stood, as a lasting memorial and remembrance of the atomic bomb. The work to dismantle the statue began in April 1955. A huge closing ceremony was performed before departing on the cargo ship Kochu Maru, a Daido shipping company bound for the United States. On September 11, 1955, at 2 p.m., the formal dedication of the Shinran Shonin statue was held. At that time, this hondo that we're in now was an empty lot with only an altar, chairs, and the Shinran statue. A frame was built around the statue, and attached to the structure was a large white and red curtain that covered the entire statue for the unveiling. The back wall was covered with a large canvas with a mural painting of trees. Then and now, Shinran is standing looking over the Hudson River towards New Jersey to the western Pure Land. Here's part of the official press release. The American Buddhist Academy will hold a groundbreaking ceremony and unveiling of the statue of Saint Shinran. The unveiling will take place during the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Academy Chapel. Buddhist ministers, church members, and Sunday school children in traditional Buddhist costumes will participate. Guest speakers include Dr. Daisetsu Suzuki, a Buddhist scholar, Dr. Tomen Harada, who accompanied 25 Hiroshima maidens to this country, and Dr. Taranas Das of Columbia University. Mr. Sueichi Hirose of Osaka, Japan, donated the statue to the American Buddhist Academy. Mr. Hirose felt that in order to promote the spirit of no more Hiroshimas, it would be fitting to donate the statue to the people of America under the auspices of the American Buddhist Academy. The statue of Saint Shinran is a religious symbol of peace and serenity. D.T. Suzuki gave the keynote address. In his dedication address, he said, "We are all responsible for what happened," by saying, "We, not only Japanese Americans, but the whole world are to be held responsible for the wholesale slaughter witnessed 10 years ago in Japan." Then he talked about the present day, 1955. The present state of things, as we are facing everywhere, politically, economically, morally, intellectually, and spiritually, is no doubt the result of our past thoughts and deeds we have committed as human beings through the whole length of history, not only individually, but collectively. We are, every one of us, responsible for the present world situation filled with awesome forebodings. He ended his talk with a koan. A koan is a riddle or puzzle Zen Buddhists use during meditation to help them unravel greater truths about the world and themselves. Suzuki said, "What we want most seriously, most urgently at this very moment is not Shinran Shonin's statue, but this person, most vivaciously alive. Here we see a great big statue of Shinran Shonin. I wish to call out again, O Shinran Shonin, here we have your statue, but where is a person? Where are you?" 7 years ago, on September 11th, 2015, the American Buddhist Study Center and the New York Buddhist Church commemorated the 60th anniversary of the Shinran Shonin statue installation. A new bronze cane was donated by Mr. Bon Miyagi. To ensure it would not be stolen, we had the cane glued to Shinran's hand. However, that did not stop someone from stealing it. For the thief cut the cane just under Shinran's hand. All you can see now is Shinran holding the top of the cane. 2015 was also the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. Our keynote speaker was Reverend Dr. Mark Uno. Also present there was Bishop Kodo Umezu of the BCA. All the organizations of the church participated. the judo folks gave the Shinran statue its first cleaning in 60 years. Bonyagi and his employees covered the Shinran in a red and white curtain for the dedication and saw Daiko performed. Zenmon-sama Koshin Otani, then the Gobunsho of the Nishihon Ganji, sent a message. In it, he said, "We should not let the 70 years following World War II become merely a time in marking sorrow and pain of warfare to be forgotten. Instead, together with all people around the world, let us take this 70th anniversary as an opportunity to pursue the realization of a global society that mutually supports one another, where every life can exist through acceptance of different values. I hope each one of us will reconfirm this principle on this occasion. To share a bright future, let us be guided by the teachings of the Buddha's wisdom and face the reality of the ongoing disputes constantly occurring in the world." In the program book, Susan Onuma, president of the Japanese American Association, quoted Anne Frank. "I keep my ideas because, despite everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." In closing, I'd like to read a short part of another letter from Mr. Hirose to my father. "Excuse my rough handwriting. The other day on the 7th, there was an article about our project in the Asahi Shimbun. A lady living in a village and a devout Shinshu expressed that the moment she read the article, she immediately put her palms together in Gassho. Our founder, Shinran Shonin, is now to journey to distant America to preach and eternally pray for world peace. No more Hiroshimas is the darkness of our evil. Chantal says, truly know that this self is a foolish being of karmic evil, repeating birth and death since the beginningless eons ago, forever drowning and wandering without ever knowing the path of liberation. This is why this Shinran statue in front of our church is so special, for it witnessed this karmic evil, yet it was forged out of love for a child, symbolized not only world peace and harmony, but also the Nembutsu itself. When you leave today's service, look at the Shinran Shonin statue and bow humbly, knowing that what it witnessed 77 years ago and what it stands for today. Let's put our palms together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Thank you very much.
We will now have the gathas, Nembutsu, which is on page 169, and Namo Amida Butsu on 174. Please stand if you are able.
We'll start on page 174.
Page 174. Page 169.
Please be seated. Thank you for coming today, and I wish to acknowledge all of the people who put in effort for today's events. First of all, to Hoshina for her talk about the statue. I think there were so many things that we who think we know about the statue didn't know. It's such a touching reminder of all the effort that went to bringing that statue here and what it meant to so many people in Japan as well as to us here who are able to witness it and to remember what it stands for. Thank you to my fellow minister's assistants, Isabel Shinjo Bernard, and Nobuko Kodama, who assisted on the altar and is our pianist as well. And thank you for all of the people who came early to welcome the party that came from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You really helped us in making them feel welcome. It was, I think for them it's a memorable experience, and so we are grateful to you all for having come early. Just a reminder that this is actually the last service that we will have until September 11th. We're going on a break, and but if you miss us, you can always go online to view previous services. They're all posted on YouTube and Facebook, and we would welcome you back again. Our first service will be on September 11th. And also this summer, since you probably are missing the fact that we didn't have Obon this year in Bryant Park, we will be doing a virtual Obon on August 20th, and hope to remind you to, it will be posted on our, our YouTube and Facebook pages at 2 p.m. on August 20th. So you can enjoy it at home, dance with our group too as well, and hope that it reminds you of the kind of community that we have during Obon. Anything else to? No. Just want to thank everybody for coming here. Without you, we wouldn't be New York Buddhist Church. And just remind you that we will be back here in September. We appreciate your financial support. We're able to maintain our temple and support all our programs here. If you want to become a member, we have membership forms in the back, and I think it's an affordable way to support this organization. And if you are under 30, we have a special donation membership price for you too. So we want to welcome younger members to help support us here as we get older. It gets harder, but we want to have that vitality of younger people here. So if you'd like to join us or your donations, we have a PayPal account too as well, or you can provide us with checks. So thank you so much for being here today. Let's put our hands together in Gassho. In gratitude for the opportunity for us to gather together as Sangha, for us to experience the teachings of Shinran Shonin, and to experience the oneness of us as a Sangha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.